All right, hello, my name is Jamez Wilson. I'm sitting with Christopher Luad. And Chris, could you just introduce yourself and tell people what you do?
Sure. Well, I am a meditation instructor, mindfulness teacher. I also do presentations on various aspects of Buddhism, mostly for celebrity cruise lines, but for other corporations as well. I do corporate mindfulness for various corporations, mostly in the United States, but also in around the world. I'm the director of the Such Sweet Thunder meditation program, which is a program that I designed based on a Tibetan Buddhist practice called the primary practice. And most recently, I've been making an in-depth study on the Four Noble Truths, the first teachings of the Buddha, and applying those to a meditation practice itself.
Cool.
That's a lot. It's a mouthful. I didn't realize I was so busy.
If you had to put like a title, you only get a little box normally, so it's like, okay, how do I do this in 3 words?
I just put my name in very, very fine print.
There we go, fit it all in. Well, it's cool because you actually talked about then adapting your own meditation style. And that was going to be my first question. It was, how did you get to where you are now, where you're teaching people how to meditate? Because I've done a few classes with you, and I felt absolutely amazing. Like after one of them, especially that I remember me telling you about, I was like, man, I just felt so great. I felt so high after it. You know?
Yes,
I was on that high for quite a while,
and
I didn't want to come back down to that level. But when I did, I was like, wow, that was something special. You know? So you would have developed your technique as you grow and as you as we grow older. So how did yours start?
Yes, well, I'll start from the beginning.
Okay.
Then I started practicing meditation when I was 13, so I got turned on to it at a very young age.
That is young, right?
Yeah. Through various circumstances, I found myself at 13 researching different religions and faiths, and I came across Buddhism, and it very much resonated with me. And so what do Buddhists do? Well, they meditate. So I went out and found some books on meditation. Luckily, they were very good books, so I wasn't too misguided in creating my own home practice. And when I was 18, I started receiving formal instructions at the Cambridge Zen Center in Massachusetts, which is a Korean form of Zen. So that was my real first formal introduction to meditation and Buddhism. And so that deeply informs my practice, but I don't really, it's such an early baseline that I don't really draw from that technically, but I know it's there.
Okay, so I mean, it's more advanced now, is that what you're saying? Like, so that first introduction was the base? And...
Yeah, I think because it was so long ago, and it was such a fundamental beginning, But you know how it is when you're learning grammar, you don't refer back to the grammar rules when you're speaking.
You get lost, don't you? I found, like, say with language, you don't have to think about it. So,
right.
So now it's just so much in depth. The meditation practice.
Right. Yeah. That you don't really concentrate on the fundamentals anymore. The early teachings that you learned, because they're just a part of the sauce now.
Yeah. Cool.
Yeah. And then I moved to New York in 2000. I began studying formally at the Fire Lotus Temple in Brooklyn, New York, which is another Zen school, Japanese Zen, Soto and Rinzai, a combination of two different meditation practices there. Which was great. I was also trained as a jazz musician. That's what I was doing in Boston. So when I moved to New York, my jazz career had started, and I was very happy being a professional jazz musician, practicing Buddhism. But then September 11th happened, and that was really the trigger for me, the switch, so to speak. And I knew probably it took about 6 months after September 11th for it to really manifest for me, but then I knew that I would learn these teachings so that I could give them to others, so that events like September 11th would be impossible. I knew that if people could come to understand these teachings the way I understood them, that events like that wouldn't happen any longer.
Wow.
So I started my life trajectory started moving away from being a jazz musician and formally teaching meditation full time. That took about 9 years. In that 9-year interim, I lived as a monk for over a year in a monastery in New York City. I practiced as a monk in monasteries in California, in Nepal. I'm actually heading back to Nepal to do some more training.
So it's ongoing, right?
It's ongoing,
and
yes.
you've actually, got your feet dirty with this. You've really gone into like the traditional values of it. You really started from the scratch a bit.
Yeah, well, I think as much as an American can, I've really looked for some really great teachers. I've been very, very, very lucky with my teachers, actually, and had some wonderful guides along the way, and I continue to meet with them frequently. And then in 2009, I started teaching myself, and with some really great results, actually. What I've done is I've taken a Tibetan practice that I got from my teacher, Ken MacLeod, called the primary practice. And the primary practice is it's a meditation designed to help us embrace the present moment as completely as possible. So we start by meditating with the breath, the sensations of the breath, the body, and any sounds that are available in the present moment. Taking in all of the sounds and the silence. And that's the first stage of the practice. And I let the practitioner stop there and meditate with the sounds and the sensations for however long it takes for the mind to settle down.
Maybe 10 minutes, maybe half an hour?
Well, I'm thinking of more of doing that as a daily practice for like 6 months.
Yeah.
Like that.
So really get your mind used to switching off. Really.
Right. And the mind is allowed to rest. So the thoughts are allowed to come and go, but we don't follow the thoughts anymore. I like the phrase mind like a sky. So you keep the mind open and clear like the sky, and thoughts coming through the sky like clouds. We don't have to follow the clouds or entertain them in any way. We just let them pass through.
Just let it be.
Exactly. Because when you let thoughts be without following them or entertaining them, they disappear on their own. They self-liberate.
Do you think a lot of people, we're kind of used to following these thoughts?
Well, that's our. I think most of humanity in our current state, we're just going from one thought to the next thought to the next thought throughout most of our lifetime.
Our whole lives. Man.
Yeah. And as a result of that, we miss a lot of the present moment.
So I think it's just a big lifestyle change, and could be such a significant part of someone's life when you realize, oh my goodness, I could switch this mind off.
Yeah.
And listen to the world. It's a different life then. It's a different viewpoint.
Absolutely right. And yes, life becomes such a much more vibrant experience when you're actually when you're stepping outside of the verbal structure of the mind. Because we label things with our mind, the things that we label lose their vibrancy, lose their life force. We look at a tree and we say tree, and that doesn't really tell us the majesty of an oak, right? The life force of coming from this oak. We just say tree, and
just
then
becomes that
it
word.
becomes that dead.
Yeah.
Yeah, it takes the life out of it. And we do that to everything, not just nature, but we do it to humanity. And that's really, I think, one of the primary causes of illness in the human condition. It's that labeling process. It allows us to objectify our other human beings. And as a result of that objectification, we have war, famine, hoarding, so that people are starving, other people are wealthy, other people are starving. It all comes from objectification. It leads to many, many, many imbalances in the human system.
And that's from leaving that state of mind, like it's just not really seeing the life, the true essence of life. As soon
as you label somebody, they're a musician, they're a Buddhist, they're a Christian, they're a Catholic, they're a Muslim, they're homosexual, they're heterosexual, they're wealthy, they're poor, they're black, they're white, whatever. It takes some aspect of their humanity away. And once that's done, once we've done that, we're allowed to objectify them and use them as objects in our world rather than seeing them as the spirit that they are.
It's quite disgusting, I think, that what can happen when we take that out of it.
Yeah.
It's disgusting, like what the actions some people feel they can justify them, I suppose. And
it's disgusting in a way, but in a way it's actually the normal current state of humanity. And when I think one of the real gifts of a meditation practice is showing us that is an illusion, that labeling process that we become so entranced with or entrenched with or hypnotized by is an illusion. And once we are able to walk in silence or experience the world in silence, the radiant spirit coming through each individual becomes very obvious, actually. That type of objectification becomes impossible.
so people can start doing this thing themselves. Like you can reach, when you reach adult life and it's kind of calmed down a little bit, because growing up's quite crazy. I think maybe your mid-20s, late 20s, this might happen earlier, but say you are in like your mid-20s, you can start doing this yourself. You can start becoming more and more aware of the world, right? And let it calm down. But you help teach people. You help people get into this meditative state.
Yes, that's one of the primary aspects of the meditation that I teach is stopping the labeling process, stopping the verbal mind from labeling or mapping out every experience that we have. And we do that in meditation as well. When we sit in meditation, we follow the breath. We don't label the breath, good breath or bad breath, or short breath or long breath, or any kind of sensation to it. We just experience the breath without the words to it. And we start there. It's very simple, right? The breath is with us all the time, so we can practice that in any moment while we're driving, walk to the grocery store, waiting for an elevator. You just take 1 or 2 breaths and feel the breath without labeling it at all. That exercise alone is making steps towards breaking the habit of labeling every experience. So you're having an experience without the labels just by following the breath like that. Then we do the body scanning. We don't label any of the sensations of the body, painful, blissful, pleasurable, itch, ache. We don't label anything like that. Color. We just experience the body as it arises in the present moment. So there again is another opportunity where we're scanning the body to drop the labeling process and just have an experience without any labels at all. And so forth. We go through all the stages doing that. We open our awareness to the sounds and silence.
There are many stages though, right? I think I got to maybe stage 2 with you when we did the breathing. Then stage 2 was becoming more aware of body parts.
Right.
So we started with organs, I think, maybe, or starting with the stomach, and then moving up to the throat maybe, and your ears.
Yeah.
So it was unlocking all these things and just becoming more and more mindful of your body as a whole,
Right.
And then then we go into the third stage where it was maybe sound, but I didn't get to this with you, but
I'll go through all the
heavy.
stages then, since you brought it up.
Yeah.
So we do the breath in the body, and what that does, what we're doing with these stages, we're gradually including more and more of the present moment. And the way I wrote about it in my book is healing the wounds between self and other. So what that means is that first we start with the breath in the body. And in doing that, we're healing the wound between psyche and soma. We're bridging that gap between mind and body by resting and experiencing the sensations of breath and body. We gradually re-inhabit our body as we do that. So parts of the body tend to get more feeling. Numbness tends to dissipate when we do extensive body scanning. Then the next stage is opening to the sounds and the silence. That's healing the wounds between body, mind, and environment. We're so accustomed to experiencing the world between everything inside my skin is me and everything outside my skin is not me. But the seers and sages of today and yesterday and tomorrow all agree that that's actually an illusion, that. It's all one awareness. The inside of the body and the outside of the body is all arising in one awareness. So from that stage, we start to bring that more global awareness into play. So we're doing the breath, the body, and then the sounds and silence. When that begins to settle down, when the thoughts begin to settle down, when the meditator can rest comfortably in that experience, then we open our eyes and we take in the visual field, which is another step towards bridging the gap between self and other, more of the external world now. So from the external world, we're experiencing the sounds and silence and the play of shadow, color, light, and space. That's how I like to put it. And the space is very important. Space is often overlooked in our visual field, right? We often are so entranced by the objects in the visual field that we lose the space of the visual field. That empty, clear space is very important, like that. So we take all of that into experience. Then I allow the meditator, we rest with that until thoughts subside. And then we open our awareness again, and that's the next stage, to the internal field. Any emotional material, any thoughts or feelings that are arising, we honor them. We let them arise, pass through, and fade away. We don't repress anything, and we don't cling to anything. So if sadness arises, or if anger arises, or if joy arises, we honor it. We look at it, say, oh, that's really wonderful experience. If it's joy or bliss, we can actually revel and take pleasure in that experience as it arises, but we don't cling to it, we don't grasp at it. So it just passes rather quickly usually, and then we rest in the experience of everything that's arising and passing. Now that is really important. I'll come back to that aspect of it in a minute. I just want to finish the stages before I digress into any one of them. So visual field, internal field, and then resting in all of that, which is a lot of the present moment now, becomes a very rich experience. We then open our heart to the entire experience. And people generally have trouble with that. Because, what does that mean? Open the heart. It's kind of, foo-foo, mushy, new agey kind of thing. But it's not actually. It's actually a beautiful practice. And you open your heart to the present moment the same way you might open your heart if you're picking up a kitten, or greeting a friend that you haven't seen in many years, or meeting a family member that you haven't seen in a while. Any kind of experience where your heart genuinely opens, and you take that warmth and you apply it to the entire present moment. So allowing your heart to open to the entire field of experience, like that, which is, people generally really like that practice. It's sometimes you get some resistance, so it's hard for people, I think, sometimes to open their heart if they've had some pain in the past or things like that. But generally, when people can really go into that stage of the practice, it becomes a very wonderful, eye-opening experience for many. And then it's not over yet.
This is great stuff, man. I love it.
I do too, yeah. So opening the heart, and then we ask a question in the meditation practice. And that question is, who experiences this? And when we allow that question to arise in the silence of meditation, who experiences this? What that does is that points our awareness to the one who's having this experience. It allows us to look at our mind itself. It's called insight practice, and we turn our vision inward to look at who's having this experience, or what's having this experience. And what happens when we do that, when we look inward that way, a shift in our energy tends to manifest, sometimes in the body, in the solar plexus, or maybe in the heart area. But there's a shift, a softening almost, and a different way of feeling and seeing the world occurs. When that happens, we add that into the entire field of experience. So at the end of all of the stages, an advanced meditator will be able to experience all the sensations of the breath, all of the sensations of the body, the silence and the sounds, the open, clear, empty space in the visual field and the objects within that space. Thoughts and feelings and emotions, experiencing all of that with an open heart, and experiencing the shift of the witness in the middle of all of that, all at the same time. So it's really an incredibly rich practice to notice that the present moment is that full. You know, there's all these layers of the present moment all the time.
Say day-to-day life, the average person won't be witnessing any of this. They'll be in their car, you drive into work, you're in work, you come home, and every day's like that.
Yeah. I read a study somewhere once that it said that the average human nervous system can comprehend 200,000 bits of information per second, but the average awareness is generally aware of about 2,000 bits per second. So it's an astronomical amount of raw material that's being lost in every second of the present moment. So with a practice like this, it actually allows you to regain a lot of what's normally being lost. One of the real great benefits, I think, of a practice like this is that when we are open to the entire present moment, things like anger can arise, but you don't collapse down on it. You maintain that mind like a sky experience. So anger comes into your awareness, it stays for a while, maybe pretends to be very important, and then it fades away back into nothing, and you actually don't punch somebody out as a result, or you don't yell at somebody. You can rest in the experience of being angry, because that anger is just another aspect of this incredibly rich field of experience. There's anger there, but yes, there's also the sensations of the clothing on my skin, there's the sound of the birds, there's the sunshine coming down against my skin, there's all of the present moment that's happening, and the anger is just a minor aspect of it. Instead of being the main player in the drama, now the anger just becomes a minor character.
So some people will go to certain classes, the counselling, and anger management, and that'll focus on just one thing. But with your meditation practices, we're focusing on everything, really. It's the whole being, like being soothed. Yes,
absolutely. It works with anger, but one of the other great benefits that I've noticed is it works with pain, physical pain. If there's a physical pain in the body, typically our awareness collapses right down on it, because physical pain can be very intense. And then there's usually an emotional component to that physical pain, anger or hurt or shame, whatever instigated the physical pain usually brings with it an emotional component as well. So typically our awareness will collapse right down on those, and it becomes our reality. But having practiced a practice such as this, one is able to allow the physical pain to be there. Of course, it sucks, to be in physical pain. Generally, most people don't enjoy that. But you can allow the physical pain to be there, but it doesn't take you over. Your awareness doesn't collapse down on it. If you keep that mind like a sky type awareness, there's the physical pain of the ache in the shoulder, but then there's also the sound of the cars driving by, the sound of music, a pleasant conversation that's happening, which happens to bring joy at the same time. So there's all of these variables. The present moment is offering this incredibly rich tapestry of experience, and we don't need to focus on any one particular aspect of that. We can live open and clear enough to embrace the entire present. Which, it's incredibly relieving in a way, because now we don't have to respond or react to life in a knee-jerk reaction to our physical sensations or our emotional sensations. We can allow the present moment to unfold and respond more appropriately.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. So having more control of your mind, right, instead of just getting carried away and so the ultimate goal really is for people to feel whole, to feel great, to feel at peace, to feel content, to feel happy, if we have to label it, right?
Yeah.
Those were all labels then. That's the ultimate goal, is for people just to feel happy being themselves and eventually like grateful that you're in this world?
Yeah, I think those are two wonderful aspirations and two reasons that people come to meditation. I think frequently are those reasons. People are looking for a way of being in the world that doesn't cause suffering for themselves and for others, or being in the world which brings them happiness and joy for themselves and others. And seeking out a meditation practice, if not from me, from somewhere, is, I think, a great idea to making strides towards that end. Yeah.
Well, Chris, your technique, your meditation technique, like helped me hugely. So I would recommend you massively. And how would people get in touch with you?
Oh, sure. Well, my website, www.suchsweetthunder.org, is a great way to get in touch with me. All of my contact information is available on the website, as well as published articles that I've done, guided meditations, video podcasts. This podcast and others will be on there as well. So it's a great resource as it is alone. The website is a great resource for people who are interested in meditation.
And then once people contact you, we can start the process where they can start doing these sessions with you, these meditation sessions, and that's the first step to really changing your life.
Yeah, I offer Skype sessions, or it doesn't have to be Skype. I just say that, but it can be any video app. Skype works, FaceTime, Facebook video chat works as well. And generally, I meet with people once a week, and I ask for about a 1 month commitment just to see if the practice is going to take hold. And after that, I allow the students to really make their own schedule with me. If they want to come once a week or once every other week, that's fine. But a consistent meeting with a teacher in a consistent way is a great way to make sure the practice takes hold, as I mentioned. And also, a good teacher is able to see the pitfalls in the path before a student gets there, or pretty soon after a student gets there, and is able to help them out of that pitfall or around that pitfall. Sometimes a very deep meditation practice can lead to emotional upheavals or a very deep metaphysical experiences that can't be comprehended right away. And a good teacher, a good guide is very essential, I think, for navigating the path.
And you feel like, you've been taught by some of the best?
Yes, I've had some great, wonderful teachers, in the Tibetan traditions and both Japanese and Korean Zen, the Shambhala and mindfulness schools in America as well. Yes, I've had some really, really wonderful teachers.
Amazing, Chris. Very well. Thanks for speaking to me today.
Yeah, thank you, James. Thanks for having me on.
Cool, man.
Yeah.